On breaking views tonight, we'll start our discussion on the current situation in the state of Haryana. After the violence that took place in Nuh, there is uneasy calm in the adjoining areas as well. People are being threatened, forced in fact, to leave their houses. Communities are being at this moment disturbed, targeted as a repercussion of what happened on Monday. Though at least the government says for the last 24 hours the situation is under control. Earlier, on what are the measures and where are the loopholes? Does the administration also hold itself responsible for what happened and the lapses by the local intelligence and the police? I spoke to Union Minister of State who hails Mr. Krishnapal Gurjar, who is the Member of Parliament from Faridabad, on the very issue of the current situation in his home state. Listen in. अभी आपके पास क्या इनपुट है, हालात कैसे हैं?
देखिए, अभी जो मेरे पास जानकारी है वहाँ हालात सामान्य हो गए हैं। हर चीज़ आज वहाँ पर काबू में है। कोई समाचार, कोई घटना का ऐसी कोई घटना आज तक कोई समाचार ऐसा नहीं मिला है। पूरी वहाँ पर सारे चीज़ें काबू में हैं और कोई अप्रिय घटना आज वहाँ कोई नहीं हुई है।
6 लोगों की मौत हो गई है सर इस पूरी हिंसा में। 70 से ज्यादा लोग घायल हैं। कई लोग जो हैं वो अभी भी परेशान हैं। लोगों को अपने घर छोड़ के जाने की धमकियां मिल रही हैं। ऐसी स्थिति बनी क्यों? इस पर हरियाणा सरकार के ऊपर काफी सारे सवाल उठ रहे हैं कि ये जो यात्रा निकल रही थी उससे पहले तनाव बना हुआ था। आज यात्रा जिन लोगों ने निकाली, वीएचपी और बजरंग दल, वो कह रहे हैं कि हमें सुरक्षा नहीं प्रदान की गई थी। आप मानते हैं सरकार की कमी रही है इसमें?
देखिए, ये जो घटना है बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और मैं समझता हूँ ना ये हरियाणा के लिए ठीक है, ना हरियाणा के लोगों के लिए ठीक है। और इस घटना के कारण हमारा जो सदियों पुराना भाईचारा है उसमें कहीं ना कहीं मैं समझता हूँ चोट पड़ी है। और उन तथाकथित लोगों का, उन अपराधी तत्वों का मंशा भी यही थी कि जो यहाँ पर जो सदियों पुराना भाईचारा है उस भाईचारे को कैसे समाप्त किया जाए। तो इसके पीछे हमको सुनियोजित षड्यंत्र नजर आता है। कोई ना कोई इसके पीछे मास्टरमाइंड है। इस भाईचारे को समाप्त करने के जिन्होंने इस घटना को अंजाम दिया है। और मैं समझता हूँ ये जांच का विषय, जैसे जैसे जांच आगे बढ़ेगी वो चेहरे बेनकाब भी होंगे और वो षड्यंत्रकारियों को निश्चित तौर पर अपने किए का सजा भी उनको भुगतनी पड़ेगी। देखिए, ये जो शोभा यात्रा है जी विष्णु परिषद की, अंकित जी, ये आज पहली बार नहीं, हर साल सावन के महीने में ये शोभा यात्रा निकाली जाती है। उसकी जिला प्रशासन से बाकायदा इजाजत मिली जाती है, उसका रूट भी पहले से तय किया जाता है। इस बार भी उसकी इजाजत ली गई थी, रूट तय था। ये दूर दूर तक अंदेशा नहीं था क्योंकि हर बार बड़ी शांतिपूर्ण वातावरण में ये शोभा यात्रा निकलती है। अगर ऐसा कोई दूर से अंदेशा भी होता तो निश्चित तौर पर उसके लिए फोर्स भी ज़्यादा लगाई जाती, उसके लिए सारे इंतजाम भी किए जाते। लेकिन हर वर्ष की भांति जितने इंतजाम चाहिए थे वो इंतजाम वहां मौजूद थे जी। उतनी फोर्स भी वहां पर रूट पर लगाई गई थी। लेकिन षड्यंत्रकारियों ने इसकी खबर कानो कार भी किसी को मालूम नहीं चली और उन्होंने, देखिए,
आप कह रहे हैं कि इस पे कोई कानो कान खबर नहीं थी। इससे पहले लगातार जो सोशल मीडिया है, चाहे फेसबुक हो, व्हाट्सएप हो, उस पर लोगों के वीडियो निकल के आ रहे थे। मोनू मानेसर का वीडियो था, दूसरी तरफ से लोगों का वीडियो था कि हम तैयारी कर रहे हैं, अगर मोनू मानेसर यहां पर आएगा तो हम उसको आने नहीं देंगे। तो इस तरह का जो वीडियोस थे वो सोशल मीडिया पर 2-3 दिन से वायरल हो रहे थे। तो इसका मतलब तो पुलिस की नाकामी है सर कि वो इन वीडियोस को भांप नहीं पाई और उसके बाद ये यात्रा पर इस तरह से हमला हुआ, फिर उसके बाद पूरा हिंसा हुई।
देखिए अंकित जी, जो मोनू मानेसरिया का जो वीडियो हमने देखा है, टीवी पर देखा है, चैनल पर देखा है, उसमें उन्होंने जो बात कही है, जो सबने सुन रहे हैं, उसमें कहा है कि 31 तारीख को शोभा यात्रा में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को हिस्सा लेना है, पहुंचना है और मैं भी उसमें पहुंचूंगा। इसके अलावा उस वीडियो में कोई ऐसी कोई बात सुनाई नहीं देती जिससे लोगों को भड़काने के लिए कोई उसमें कोई बात कही हो। लेकिन फिर भी मैं कहता हूं, मोनू मानेसरिया पर आरोप है जिसका मुकदमा राजस्थान में दर्ज है, तो वो राजस्थान की सरकार उस पर कार्रवाई करती, लेकिन उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उसके कारण निहत्ती शोभा यात्रा पर के लोगों पर आप पत्थरों से हमला कर देंगे, आप गोलियों की बौछार कर देंगे, आप वाहनों को जला देंगे, आप दुकानों को लूट लेंगे। तो ये किसने उनको अख्तियार दिया है?
नहीं,
तो
ये बिल्कुल सही बात है था। तो कारण कोई भी कारण इसको जस्टिफाई नहीं करता, इस तरीके के हमले को जस्टिफाई नहीं करता, इस तरह की हिंसा को जस्टिफाई नहीं करता। लेकिन जैसे आप कह रहे हैं कि यात्रा पे हमला हुआ, निहत्ते लोग थे, आप ही की सरकार में, जो केंद्र सरकार में आप ही के कुलीग हैं, हरियाणा से आते हैं राव वीरेंद्र जी, उन्होंने कहा है कि ये इस बात की भी जांच होनी चाहिए कि इस यात्रा के अंदर लोग हथियार लेकर क्यों जा रहे थे। आपको लगता है ये शोभा यात्रा में भी हथियार लेकर लोग वहां जा रहे थे, ये पूरा एक शक्ति प्रदर्शन का पूरा मामला था?
देखिए अंकित जी, अगर आप शोभा यात्रा की तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं तो शोभा यात्राओं में जो डंडे लाठी ये आमतौर पर कहीं भी जाए वो निकलती हैं। चाहे वो मुहर्रम का जुलूस निकलता है तो उसमें वो डंडे वो चीजें होती हैं। तो शोभा यात्रा में दूसरे अवैध हथियार थे, कहीं तस्वीर में वो नजर नहीं आते हैं। जहां तक डंडे वंडे की बात है, वो हर शोभा यात्रा में वो, और मुहर्रम के जुलूस में भी इस तरह के डंडे होते हैं, लेकिन सब शांतिपूर्ण निकलते हैं। तो इसलिए वो जांच का विषय है। निश्चित तौर पर इसकी जांच होगी कि उस शोभा यात्रा में कोई अवैध हथियार थे नहीं थे, लेकिन जो आज तक की जो तस्वीरें हैं, जो शोभा यात्रा की पिक्चर्स हैं, उसमें कहीं भी मैंने तो वो अवैध हथियार मुझको ना दिखाई दिए हैं
जी।
लेकिन फिर भी जांच होगी, और जांच में अगर ऐसी बात आएगी तो कानून उसमें अपनी कार्रवाई करेगा।
जो उप मुख्यमंत्री हैं दुष्यंत चौटाला साहब, उन्होंने कहा कि इस यात्रा के जो ऑर्गेनाइजर थे उन्होंने ना तो सही संख्या बताई और रूट जो था वो भी बदल दिया गया था। आपको लगता है कि इसकी भी जांच होनी चाहिए?
देखिए निश्चित तौर पर मैं ये कहता हूं कि यात्रा की इजाजत भी ली गई थी, यात्रा का रूट भी बनाया गया था, उसी रूट पर शोभा यात्रा जा रही थी। और निश्चित तौर पर ये कहना कि भाई उसका ये हो गया था, ये हो गया था, लेकिन उस सबका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उस रूट पर जाने वालों पर आप हमला कर देंगे, गोलियां चला देंगे। तो इसलिए सारी इजाजत ली गई थी
जी,
रूट तय किया गया था और शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से यात्रा जा रही थी। उस पर यह घिनौना कृत्य करने की साजिश रची गई
जी।
और जहां तक हथियारों की बात है तो हथियार तो मेवात में इस तरह के हथियारों के खिलाफ हरियाणा पुलिस समय समय पर कार्रवाई करती रहती है। वहाँ अवैध हथियार मिलते भी हैं, उस पर दबिश भी जाती है, उनकी गिरफ्तारी भी होती है, हथियारों को जब्त भी किया जाता है। तो ये कार्य निरंतर वहां पर चलती रहती है।
While the government and the BJP leaders defend the actions or the questions which have been raised on the laxity and on the part of the police, the opposition is hitting out at the government of Haryana. Joining me now at this moment, Mr. Dipender Huda, Member of Parliament of the Congress Party, who hails from the state of Haryana. Mr. Huda, thank you so much for joining us. Though the situation, the government says, in the last 24 hours has come under control, but tension still prevails, sir. We have ground reports which show that people have been asked, intimidated, threatened to leave Gurugram, the Millennium City, which still persists, the tension still persists in the area. How do you see the situation?
See, first of all, what has happened in Haryana is very unfortunate and most painful to see, because this particular region and Haryana as a whole, we have not had a history of any kind of communal clashes or communal flare-ups. In fact, during 1947 also, during partition, because we were part of joint Punjab at that time, there are a lot of communal flare-ups, but this area had remained peaceful. Mewat, Gurugram had remained peaceful even at that point of time. So what's happened now is really unfortunate, and the fault entirely lies on with our state government. This is result of governance failure of all the inputs that we have, and I'm sure all the reports, because the government, this was a procession which was takes place in past also, and every time police protection has been provided. This time this procession was taking place in an environment, a lot of videos were circulating, etc. But the government did not deploy any adequate number of police protection or police forces, or administration was not deployed, and the people were left to fend for themselves, leading to a situation which was completely avoidable. So it's a fault, administrative failure of, it's a proof of administrative failure of the government. Government to take responsibility. Yes, what we're saying that the situation is turning to normal, and and that's our number one priority also.
Right, but the police not being able to control the situation, there was already social media messages from either sides. Monu Manesar had put out some videos. There were videos from the other side threatening him with dire consequences. Do you think the local administration, the police and the government, their intelligence unit completely failed?
Absolutely, and that's why I say that the government cannot run away from taking the moral responsibility by saying, the Chief Minister saying that it's pre-planned, etc. Both the questions raised by our MOS in the union government and local BJP MP, Ravinderjeet, he has also raised questions pointing to administrative failure. And Deputy CM has also raised questions which are relevant, pointing to administrative failure, which I am also pointing out to, as well as the local police officials, both on the intelligence side and the police side, what they have given those interviews, those are also pointing to exactly the same. So what my point is, on one side, yes, the point you made earlier, that the social fabric needs to be, the government should be careful in ensuring that people don't cross red lines on social media which cause such tension build up, etc. But at the same time, government should act in time. Had the government acted in time, and one more thing, the SP of this particular district was on leave. Chief Minister pointed out today in his press conference. The SP was on leave. So when the SP is on leave, who's the other SP who has been given charge? Because there are reports which say that the SP Palwal, the neighboring district, was given charge only after the riots had broken out. So on such a sensitive day of such a procession, the SP is on leave and there's no other SP. This is a question of, again, that the government has to answer. These are reports which have come to us, but I have not seen the order and the timing of those orders, but government can answer.
Mr. Huda, I want to talk to you particularly about one individual called Monu Manesar, who has been named, he's a controversial figure, wanted by, in certain cases in Haryana and also in a very serious case in Rajasthan. He's coming out, releasing videos, talking to the media. The police says he's still absconding. Do you see some sort of state patronage for him?
See, the law about anyone, the law should take its own course. I am not aware of the details of the matter, but in the news, I have read that there are certain criminal matters in which he has been named, and the police is out on lookout for him. So any police, and again, I don't want to differentiate between one state or the other state because it becomes a political matter then. If there is a person like that, and if any police, they should do their duty, and law should take its own course. If he needs to be apprehended, then so be it. But why it is not happened, that is another question for both the police. Both the police should answer that question.
Mr. Huda, the Chief Minister today in the press conference spoke about his inability, or the government's inability. He said that there are 60,000 police force. The government cannot ensure that there can be a policeman guarding every citizen. A lot of criticism is also coming on his way, making this statement at the time when people are looking for assurances by the Chief Minister.
This is most unfortunate statement coming out from such a high office. He said that Haryana is about 3 crore population and only 60,000 police. The most prime responsibility of any state government is to provide security and safety to every citizen. Every citizen should feel safe and secure. That's the prime responsibility of the government. That's why we have a government. And if Mr. Khattar is, we already knew, because many times Haryana, the law and order machinery is completely collapsed in the past during his regime. But he is now openly admitting it and saying, we know that he's unable, but to say it that I'm not able is the most unfortunate. If he's unable to do it, let him step aside. We are ready to step in. We have proved in the past 10 years of Congress government in Haryana, not one riot had taken place. There was not one such incident. And if he says it, let him take the moral responsibility. Give us the charge. We will prove again that security can be provided to all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Huda, for joining us with your views on this. I want to very quickly move on to the next story that we are tracking at this moment. This is the 9th death, ladies and gentlemen, of the cheetahs under Project Cheetah in Kuno, which has now sent alarm bells ringing. Is it time to rethink the Project Cheetah is the question that we are asking. I just want to very quickly give you a timeline of what all has happened since the time 20 cheetahs were moved from Namibia and South Africa in this relocation program. Now, on August 2nd, Cheetah Dhatri dies. Post-mortem report is being conducted. That's the latest one. Now, before that, on July 14th, Cheetah Suraj had also died due to infection from a radio collar. July 11th, Cheetah Tejas died due to traumatic shock. Then you go back to May 25th. 3 cheetah cubs out of the 4 died due to dehydration and extreme weather. On May 9th, Cheetah Daksha died of mating injuries. On April 23rd, another cheetah, Cheetah Uday, died of cardiac arrest, and it all started on March 27 when Cheetah Sasha died of kidney complications. Is it time to rethink the entire project? Remember, the Supreme Court had also made some very, very telling remarks as far as the project is concerned. I'm being joined at this moment by Mr. R. Srinivasa Murthy, retired Indian Forest Service officer, former Chief Conservator of Forests and Field Director, Panna Tiger Reserve, Madhya Pradesh. We are also being joined by Dr. Arjun Gopala Swamy, founder and Chief Scientist of the Global Wildlife and Statistical Ecologist as well. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I want to start by asking you, Mr. Murthy, there have been a lot of questions that the Supreme Court, which is monitoring this situation, has also asked. One question that keeps on repeatedly coming in the forefront is whether this radio collar, which should have been possibly leather, which is at this moment plastic and other material, that should be done away. Why do you think this is an alarming rate at which these cheetahs are dying in Kuno?
So, thank you very much. Exactly what is happening at Kuno, I am not exactly aware. That's one thing, because I am not part of the Project Cheetah team. But I would like to give certain inputs based on my experience. Yes, certainly the radio collars create certain problems in Indian conditions. But here comes how good we are in monitoring it. That's the most important issue. When it comes to monitoring based on radio telemetry, that's the most important issue. In radio telemetry monitoring, again, you see, the general practice till the Panna happened, because I was in charge of Panna for reintroduction tigers there, and then till then, it was mostly an academic radio telemetry monitoring that was happening in the country. Outside the country, I'm not exactly aware, but mostly it was the scientists who were doing. But when we started the tigers, monitoring the tigers in Panna, then through the process of hit and try on the basis, then we could really understand a managerial monitoring is very more important. Because for a scientist only taking 3 spots in a week is more than sufficient to arrive at a conclusion. But for me as a manager, I have to monitor my tigers 24/7 into 365. That's most important. If something happening with the animal, I am immediately able to know the next day. Immediately also we will be able to know, because there is a programming into it. Once there are once the animal is at one place, then there will be a certain amount of programming that is done in the radio collar. That need to be assessed. Then if there is a mortality, then within 6 hours, again, the radio collar will give you mortality signals.
Mr. Gopala Swamy, I want to understand from you, as the Supreme Court said, that is it being now made a prestige issue? A lot of experts have said that possibly the tigers should be relocated to other, national parks and other reserves as well. Possibly Rajasthan will suit them better in those conditions. How do you see this situation, sir? And is there, some sort of from the government side or from the people, those who are taking care of the project at this moment, a very high-handed approach that we will only follow this?
First, thank you for having me, Ankit. I think we should first recognize that the project has barely begun. This is a rewilding project, right? Which means you're going to let all these cheetahs now roam in the wild. And that process has barely begun. We just spent about 2 months, which was also like very closely monitored. When animals got into conflict, they were stopped. And when animals dispersed away, they were brought back in. So it is still being very interventionist, if I may use the word. So the project has barely begun. These losses are really nothing to do with this argument of whether we got to shift it to another place or not, because that's a completely different issue. This issue is still at a very early stage. 6 out of the 8 deaths have occurred within the enclosures where the cheetahs are being monitored, and we have still not gone past the veterinary stages at the moment. So that's where we are. So,
one letter that was written by the global experts, those who are part of this panel, which is looking at this project, they said that possibly their involvement needs to be increased as far as this entire project is concerned. Is there any scope, Mr. Gopalaswamy, for a rethink or re-strategize as far as this project is concerned, or is it too early at this moment?
No, I think we should first see the larger issues to how this project has come about. And I have been one of the critics, along with many other scientists, on the action plan itself. So I think there's a fundamental issue. We are getting a little lost right now with these individual deaths happening in enclosures, some unknown reasons for the moment, the last 3 deaths, which is attributed to radio collars and the sepsis and all that. These were what we would classify as unforeseen.
Okay.
But the foreseen part of it itself is a huge problem, because Kuno is extremely small a place to host a wild population of cheetahs, because any population, you take the best, most productive habitats in the world where I have personally worked on cheetahs and brought out some publications, cheetahs don't occur at more than 1 per 100 square kilometers. Now we have 20 out here. So even if we go past all these stages, they've unfortunately had a lot of deaths.
Okay.
It is still a hugely difficult task for it to succeed.
All right, gentlemen, I'm extremely sorry I have completely run out of time on this, but this discussion needs to continue so that at least we can ensure that the best possible route can be followed as far as this project is concerned. Thank you so much for joining me. A quick break, ladies and gentlemen. At this moment, news and updates continue on NDTV after a short break. Stay tuned.